Yes? Yeah, hello. A very good morning, everyone. A warm welcome. Thank you for coming early morning, and thank you to my amazing panel. We are kicking off today Adaptation and Agriculture Day, and on behalf of the Khalifa International Award for Date Palm Agricultural Innovation, Professor Abdulhalab Zaid, and my own, I wanted to welcome you on the session entitled Regional Futures and Regenerative Systems. My name is Dr. Sandra Pisik. I am a co-convener of this session, and I've been working on date palm cultivation for almost 2 decades. So we believe that date palm is a connector. It is not only a connector between past and the future, it is a brilliant connector between COP27 and COP28. We can talk about transboundary adaptation, and we can touch to 7,000 years of history of this land and agricultural adaptation of desertification together for implementation. We're going to look also about the future. We are interested in the short-term future between now and COP28, but we are obviously interested in the long-term future post-2030. And I also would like us to focus today on the regenerative capacity of date palm cultivation. It is a regenerative capacity when it comes to agriculture, as well as human livelihoods and aspirations of young people when it comes to technology transfer. Hugely important. And just for those of you that do not know, around 90% of date palm production happens in the MENA region. So we look back to go forward. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce my amazing panel, and apologies from the 2 ministers that unfortunately couldn't make it. However, we're going to have Professor Abdulhalab Zaid, Secretary General of the Khalifa Award, speaking shortly via video link. And I'm really delighted to welcome another representative from the United Arab Emirates, Dr. Halal Humaid Kaid Al-Kabi, who's going to speak about ecosystems, Secretary General of Abu Dhabi Quality and Conformity Council. We have representatives from Morocco, Dr. Ibrahim Khadifi, General Director of the National Agency for Development of Oases in Argan regions, and ZOA. And I'm really excited to welcome youth representatives all the way from Egypt, appropriately, Mr. Mohamed Agiz, COI 17 policy officer, and we will learn a lot what the youth is doing here in the region, as well as Ms. Nada Al-Barki, project leader from Youth Think Green, and remember Youth Think Green, this is very important. And I'm really thrilled to welcome Litsipria Kangoyam, all the way from India, a climate activist and a friend of the house. So without further ado, I would like us to hear and listen to the video from Professor Abdulhalab Zaid. Professor Zaid is an agriculture advisor to the United Arab Emirates Minister of Presidential Affairs. He also serves as a Secretary General of the Khalifa International Award for Date Palm and Agriculture Innovation. So hopefully we're going to hear the message right now.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Meeting the global goal on adaptation through the date palm cultivation, on behalf of the Khalifa International Award for Date Palm and Agricultural Innovation and my own, it is a pleasure to welcome you to the Regenerative Futures Regional System, which is a high-level side event focused specifically on Africa, Middle East, North Africa region, and date palm cultivation. UNEP's Adaptation Gap Report 2022, Too Little Too Slow, Climate Adaptation Failure Puts the World at Risk, to find that the world must urgently increase efforts to adapt to these impact of climate change. Sharm el-Sheikh Climate Change Conference, COP27, is taking place in Egypt, which will be followed by COP28 in the United Arab Emirates. It is therefore right to focus on the global climate challenges, on the ecology of the region and cross-sectorial opportunities that date palm cultivation offers through mitigation and adaptation co-benefits, and also in addressing the sustainable development priorities of this region. 90% of date palm industry is concentrated in the MENA region, which represents around 87% of the total area planted with date palm. Date palms have great potential for capturing carbon and in modification of local microclimate. One date palm tree can absorb about 400 liters of CO2 per day, converting the gas into sugars and other important compounds. This means that the 100 million trees in the MENA region have the capacity to absorb 28.7 megatons of CO2 per year. We can address adaptation gaps and threats of desertification, particularly through locally led adaptation, tested regenerative practices of date palm cultivation, and its long-term multidimensional impact on environmental, social, and economical sustainability. Date palm cultivation also remains a viable option in addressing food security. Indeed, the Committee on World Food Security recent estimates indicate that between 83 and 132 million additional people, including 38 to 80 million people in low-income countries that rely on food imports, will for sure experience food insecurity as a direct or indirect result of the pandemic, inflation, and political instability. Date palm ecosystems offer a win-win nature-based solution for food security, including restorative, generative land practices, while reducing unemployment rates, including women and youth in its workforce. We are recognizing that the industry suffers from underinvestment in technology transfer, as well as modernization and international adaptation, finance flows to developing countries, especially in the MENA region, must increase for its long-term suitable future. Let us focus together on the implementation of tested by time, cost-effective regional solutions for the future generations to come, while leaving no one behind. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to Professor Zaid, who couldn't be with us today. But ladies and gentlemen, this was also the voice of science. We are being asked to listen to the science when it comes to climate change. We need to listen to the regional science when it comes to biodiversity and ecology of the land, as well as ecosystems. So without further ado, it's a great honor to introduce Dr. Helal Humaid Said Al-Kabi, who is going to tell us a bit more about very important date palm ecosystems. And Dr. Al-Kabi is the Secretary General of the Abu Dhabi Quality and Conformity Council, as well as board member of the Khalifa Award. Dr. Al-Kabi, the floor is yours. Is there a mic? Excuse me, they'll just be giving, yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, beg your pardon. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah. Thank you, Dr. Sandra, for your introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, to begin, I would like first to mention that I am honored to be participating in this session under the UAE pavilion. And also, I'm coming from the country which has a number of oases, and I raised in a city has 7 oases of date palm oases which are still existed and received highly attention from the government and the leadership because the importance of oases in the city during the history and up to now, which is facing the climate change challenges. The oasis ecosystem plays an important role in the sustainable environment equation, as it doesn't only represent environmental diversity, but also ancient oasis civilizations and knowledge in line with the set standards of sustainability development. Oases are considered an exemplary area of coexistence and integration, where oasis civilization working over time to create an accurate and flexible production system to ensure its stability and continuity, while facing various internal or external dangers and obstacles that might represent a threat. The oasis ecosystem is an integrated circle where any change in one of its elements could affect others, directly or indirectly. For example, a change in temperature in a place will determine the type of plants that will grow there, which will then affect the animals that feed on them, or consider them as a shelter, which could result in either its adaptation, migration, or death. An ecosystem is not restricted to a specific area or size, where it could be a very large or very small area. Despite this, we believe that the oasis ecosystem has played a fundamental and effective role throughout history in combating desertification and drought. The main aim of the goal number 15 of the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals set by the United Nations is to protect terrestrial ecosystem and manage oases in sustainability practices, which plays a key role in combating desertification and degradation, reserving the drought course, and stopping the loss of biodiversity. Biodiversity, as health oasis ecosystem, protect the plant and secure the living of people. The Sustainability Development Goals and regional futures seek to conserve and restore the use of oasis ecosystem, such as wet and dry lands and mountains, and to adapt the future climate change impacts. And social aspirations of the youth. The long-term thinking also aims to prevent land degradation and the removal of oases, which results in desertification, drought, and climate change. Therefore, urgent actions must be taken to limit the loss of oases, natural habitats, and biodiversity, as it is part of the common heritage of all humankind, and adapt to the needs of the future. Promoting the implementation of sustainable management in all types of oases, restoring degraded oases, deliver or investments, and technology transfer will help in stabilizing the living population and sustaining the oasis ecosystem, as human beings are the head of the ecological pyramid. Therefore, fortifying and adopting oasis ecosystem plays an important role in combating desertification, restoring degraded lands and soils, including lands affected by desertification, drought, and floods. It also preserves oasis system, including their biological diversity, in order to enhance their ability to provide benefits that are indispensable in combating desertification and drought to achieve sustainable development. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Al-Kabi. Very important words on the common heritage, on the important role of oasis ecosystems. And also, this is the voice of science. And I'd like to give a floor to another scientist from Morocco, Professor Abdelhalel Aziz Al-Harki. Oh no, sorry, Professor Ibrahim, General Director of National Agency for the Development of Oasis Ecosystems of Anzora. And as an introduction, I just wanted to say that desert regions are not really densely populated. So these oasis ecosystems provide a very important role also for the local communities. They also prevent rural-urban migration. So there is a lot of co-benefits when it comes to livelihoods and provision of jobs. So we're going to hear right now what Anzoa is doing in expanding that role of ecosystems to the human ecosystems and livelihoods of people of Morocco. The floor is yours, Dr.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a great pleasure for me today to participate to this important site event to share with you the Moroccan experience in managing climate change impact on oasis systems. In Morocco, oasis territories cover approximately 32% of the national territory and host about 2 million inhabitants. Given their proven potential and their exceptional heritage, they are recognized by UNESCO as Biosphere Reserve since 2002. Oasis zones have been under continuous human pressure and climatic changes in about 1 century. Morocco has lost more than 3 million date palm trees due to drought, desertification, and biodisease. A national program to improve regeneration of oasis systems was elaborated and implemented by different government bodies. Our government is committed to regenerate oases through several actions. The first action is the creation of ANZOA, a national agency for the development of oases and Argan zones that was created under instructions of His Majesty Mohammed VI in 2010, and its mission consists at designing and implementing a sustainable integrated development program around 3 pillars: social, economical, and environmental. The governance model adopted by agency consists at coordinating actions with all stakeholders at local, national, and international levels, establishing dialogue with local communities to set up priorities and implement actions, ensuring monitoring and reporting to balance bottom-up and top-down territorial governance approaches. Second action is a special program within the framework of Green Morocco Plan, launched in 2008, aiming at planting 3 million trees before 2010. And this is what done. What we lost in 1 century, we planted in a decade. The new strategy, Green Generation, from 2020 to 2030, launched a program of planting additional 5 million palm trees to rehabilitate the whole ecosystem. A third action is implementation of a set of projects supported by international financing. The most important are projects of adaptation to climate change, PACZO, financed by Adaptation Fund. It's a project of $10 million, and that's the only project in Morocco. The overall objective is to improve the adaptability of population in oases and to climate change, mainly through 5 components. First one is innovative adaptive capacities of water sector. The second is how to increase the income and improve the livelihood of population, especially the young and the women. Improved resilience, improved awareness of stakeholders, and capacity building. A second project called Wazil. It's financed by JEF. It's also $10 million, financed by JEF and implemented by FAO and NZOA. And this project is also reeling with revitalizing the agro-ecosystem, and the main topics are biodiversity, land degradation, and water accounting. A fourth action is firefighting. Between 2009 and 2020, the oasis recorded 2,000 fire affecting more than 130,000 palm trees. A survey of burned trees showed that more than 80% of affected trees revitalize and they produce the next year. This shows the degree of resilience of the palm tree. As concluding remarks, and now we are putting a national program for prevention and action launched by ANZO with different stakeholders using innovative technology for early detection and action, especially cameras and drones. As concluding remarks, oases are strongly impacted by climate change as shown in the Regional Plan of Climate Change Adaptation and Mitigation. To safeguard and protect and develop oasis ecosystems, well known for their rich, unique biodiversity, landscape, cultural and civilizational background, the Sustainable Oasis Initiative was launched by the government of Morocco during the COP22 in Marrakesh at 2016. Since then, we developed alliance with several UN organizations and several countries producing date palms, and the Khalifa Award joined us last year. We signed an agreement last June, and we are organizing a side event at about 11:30 in 1 hour from now in Moroccan Pavilion. You are welcome to attend, and we really hope in the next COP28 in Emirates that we will have really a declaration of this alliance for oases. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Dr. I just wanted to say, we're talking about land degradation. The statistics here were absolutely staggering. Biosphere shrinking reserves by 3 million date palm trees in one country. But what is wonderful to hear is the human resilience and our capacity to restore it. So it is regeneration and restoration by nature, but as well as human action, which this COP is asking us to do. And I think another aspect of that entry and presentation is also the capacity building with a local community, various stakeholders integrating, acting together. That is scalable. That is something that we can perhaps take to Algeria, to UAE, and other countries. So in terms of climate activism, we couldn't be more fortunate to hold on this stage 3 representatives of the youth, and also from Egypt, which I'm really happy to welcome 2 of you here today. Mr. Mohamed Al-Ghis represents COI 17th. There was a youth COP before, and the future is about the youth. You're going to shape, together with Lucie Priya, the future of this land and of this region. So I would love to offer a floor to yourselves and speak about the mission and the ambition of this COP, which is together for implementation, right? So the floor is yours. Mr. Mohamed Al-Ghis or Nada, whoever wants to start first. Please, you're most welcome. Nada is a project leader in an organization called Youth Think Green. So we're going to learn about youth entrepreneurship in this region and in the context of date palm oasis ecosystems. Nada, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sandra. I would like to start with shedding the light on the situation in the MENA region in Africa, which is critical as the studies and the IPCC reports demonstrate the drastic weather changes that we're experiencing, the extreme heat waves and prolonged droughts and sea level rises these regions are facing, and seen recently, especially the floods in Niger. These changes are expected to affect 400 million people in the African continent and displace up to 700 people by 2030, according to the World Meteorological Organization, imposing water stress and distorts the socioeconomic development further. However, if we're thinking about the Middle East and the MENA region alone, it's heating as twice as the global average, which is very alarming. The water and the food security is a common threat and central to the MENA region and the African NDCs. So planning on enhancing and using climate-smart agriculture, modern irrigation and cropping practices, reforming agricultural value chains, planning to control and reduce food loss and waste, and adopting technologies for farmers' adaptive capacity through countries' goals, strategies, and action plans is not enough on its own. So raising the ambition to implement is incomplete without the governmental, sectoral, and vertical integration. Private sector's participation by reducing the barriers, unlocking the green skills and jobs for the youth especially, unlocking the following a participatory approach, especially for women and children and vulnerable groups, inclusivity is essential. When we talk about agricultural practices, women in studies show that they are heavily impacted more than men by climate change. In these regions of the MENA region and the Africa, through the common culture and religions, women's role is sustaining families and building and utilizing the core resources of families, communities, and children. So the women's role in building the community resilience is essential, and responding to climate-related disasters is wide. But however, this is not seen in our policymakers, and there is less than 1/3 of decision makers in climate policy formulation as women. So personally, I'm glad to be attending COP this year and witness the large-scale and successful women figures to participate in the decision-making and negotiation process to make our voices heard. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nada. Women leadership, there you are, perfect example. But you've touched on many important things, which is one of them is a climate threat from desertification. And ladies and gentlemen, IPCC report predicts that MENA region will get hot by 8 degrees Celsius. This is amazing. We're not talking about 1 degree Celsius, 8. So to cool naturally desert regions, we do need date palm cultivation to be on increase. And I'm really glad that you mentioned the family context, the women livelihood, and best of luck in your leadership skills. So I hope this was a good beginning. But without further ado, I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Mohamed Agis. Please, Mohamed, tell us something about the COI and youth entrepreneurship. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you, everyone here. It's a great pleasure to be with you here today. And just in a minute, saying that COI 17 is the conference of youth that implemented for the 17 years after the 10th COP, which is the UNFCCC Conference of Youth. 5 local organizations in Egypt take the leadership to do this, and Youth in Green was one of them, taking the main role in providing the support to 149 delegate from 149 representation from different countries all over the globe, giving the floor to plus 1,100 delegate to come to Sharm el-Sheikh and share their expertise, share their voices in the Global Youth Statement that presented to the COP presidency to present the voices of youth. And moving forward to saying that what is the main objective of the policies and what the youth is doing. So I will move forward to a hat of doing the policies, and as working on Youth in Green, I'm also doing a job of policy innovation researcher, and I'm a managing partner in Test Labs providing policy services. And I would like to say that if we need to speak right now about how we could integrate the youth and how to integrate the youth in policies and create this kind of restoration in our communities, we need to know about the concept of living labs. So the living labs is an open innovation approach that applying in the beginning in Europe to create a co-creation and co-production citizenship or ownership on the production phases and the approach of designing the products. So now if we are speaking about the OSIS and the restoration of everything in agriculture, we can talk about how we can experiment in the beginning, the phases, and how to create a validation for the process, which means we need to have a method for doing this. Living Lab is originally started in Europe, and the aim of it is to transfer the public sector organization mechanism in the co-creation and the co-production, and its principle is to create an involvement for all the stakeholders in the innovation process, and also bringing the science, which means we are speaking about science and evidence-based in our conclusion here, to discuss the societal challenges and to create also individual scientific organization management to organize the situation with all the stakeholders together. And also focusing on a specific territories. So we are speaking about MENA region, and we have cities, we have certain characteristics, and we are including the citizenships. And I can see how we are speaking about the heritage and culture and taking all the historical aspects inside one commonalities to understand the cultural context and accordingly act on this. So the values of the living labs in doing this is to increase the sector's productivity. We are speaking about cross-sectorial innovation, which means we need to increase the productivity of the sectors and create a scientific reports that could support the decision making and create also empirical data to be used in the data analysis. What we are aiming to create is to create a holistic understanding of the sectorial value chains, which means that we need to experiment and validate the suggested solutions first in reality before the actual implementation, to not lose the resources, to not lose the time and the valuable things with this. And finally, I would like to say that it's important that the concept of integrating the citizens in the solutions because they are the valuable part and the valuable resource that we need to highlight on. So the integration of the citizens inside the solution is the main aim, providing to them access to network, access to the infrastructure building, and access to knowledge and access to finance. These are the four main aims that we need to include the citizens with them in terms of the policy, in terms of including all of them in the process of the governance. And thank you, Sandra, for your calling, and thank you for all the valuable panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mohammed, this was brilliant. I couldn't agree more with cross-sectorial approaches. On policies, ladies and gentlemen, there is something called national adaptation plans. And all of us need to lobby the governments you belong to put date palm cultivation to national adaptation plans. This is truly, truly important. And I wanted to talk about cross-sectorial aspects of date palm cultivation as well, what you've been touching upon. One is the connection between urban and rural areas. It is the oasis that gave the birth to the cities, good 5,000 years or more ago. So this is this brilliant connector when we can talk about food security for urbanization, right? The world is getting more and more urbanized. Living labs is absolutely fantastic idea. I know about it. We do need technology transfer. And as you rightly said, it is technology transfer between various sectors and the ecosystem that we had so beautifully explored here and explained by Dr. Lakabi. We need human-made and cross-sectorial ecosystems and create them from the scratch, from the beginning, with right investment and right technology. So hopefully that's the time between now and the COP28 and beyond to go forward to and explore further. Now, our last speaker, not least, is Litsipriya Kanguyam, all the way from India, coming to us all the way from India. Litsipriya is a climate activist. I can just introduce Litsipriya as someone that has over 160,000 followers on Twitter. So this lady knows something about climate activism. Litsipriya, the floor is yours. Thanks for joining us. We're really honored.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thank you very much, Ms. Sandra, and for inviting me and for introducing me. And I'm very happy to join you all today in this session. My name is Litsipriya Kangujam. I'm 11 years old, Indian child climate activist and environmentalist from India. I'm coming here all the way from India, from thousands of kilometers by raising funds to tell our leaders to take immediate concrete climate action now for the loss and damage caused by the climate crisis to the global south. I want our leaders to give climate justice to the millions of poor, vulnerable people who are already the victims of climate change. And we want clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, and clean planet to live. I also want our leaders to include climate education as a mandatory subject in our school education curriculum. There will be no climate solution without climate education. You see, children are dying due to war in Ukraine. Children are dying due to flash floods in Pakistan. Children are dying due to severe heat wave crisis and air pollution level in India. Children are dying due to starvation in Ethiopia. And many girl children are out of school to fetch water from a very long distance. Sacrificing the lives of the millions of innocent children for the failures of our leaders is unacceptable at any cost. As per recent reports, 40% of the insects population has gone. 70% of our animal species has gone. 69% of our forest has gone. And 40% of our Himalayan glaciers has gone. This is unacceptable at any cost. And if you don't know how to fix it, then please stop breaking it. During this COP27, we want a concrete climate action plan. And during COP28 in UAE, Dubai, we want a concrete climate action progress summit. I have a small message to our world leaders. Your action today will decide our future tomorrow. My generation is already the victims of climate crisis. I don't want my future generations to face the same consequences because of your inaction and empty false promises. We want clean air, clean water, and clean planet to live. Take concrete climate action now, during this COP27, in front of us for a better, cleaner, and safer future. We want climate justice now. Act now to save our planet and our future. You see, my country, India, is facing lots of environmental issues like floods, droughts, heat waves, cyclones, locusts, air pollution, etc. at the same time. These are all the impact of climate change. And many indigenous people are losing their lands, are losing their forest and land rights because of deforestation and many mining activities. This is unacceptable. Deforestation must be an international crime. And I'll continue to fight for clean air, clean water, and clean planet, which are our basic rights. We are unstoppable, another world is possible, and change is possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Litsipria. This was a global voice of a global climate challenges. As Litsipria was standing behind His Highness Sheikh Zayed, this was a founder of the UAE. This was a leader that understood the youth. This was a leader that current leadership of the United Arab Emirates is building upon with the wisdom of the land and with the wisdom of inclusivity of young people in climate action. So we really look forward to COP28, to the leadership that the UAE has given to its own country in a wise, sustainable, technologically savvy way, to deliver these changes that you've spoken about. I also wanted to mention, of course, climate education is hugely important, but I wanted also to say about the role of Global North. Whilst loss and damage, it's about the financial aspects. I would like to talk about North-South collaboration just for a little moment, because we can help and we want to help with technology transfer and the technological know-how. We spoke about the labs, the collaborative aspects. So the universities of a Global North are open, and our minds are open, our hearts are open to engage in a constructive collaboration for North-South exchange. And obviously the regenerative capacity of the youth, you couldn't explain or portray that better. We're running out of time. Is there any question from the audience that you might wish to ask the panel? No, there's no questions. I have one, and I would just like to go around the panel. Between now and COP28, what action we would recommend for the government or for the civil society to be taken on the way to implementation? So we actually answered the challenge together for implementation of this COP. So perhaps I just go around and start from Dr. Halal. Just one action that you might want to recommend between this COP and the next COP to the government or to the civil society organizations, please.
Okay. Thank you. Actually, in my country, there is a strategic plan to maintain the oasis across the country, which is actually numbers. It has been preserved by the direction of His Highness Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan, rahmatullah alayh. And still these oases are thriving and as a model actually regarding how to maintain the old oases in Arabian country. And during the COP, the next COP 28, I think there is initiative will be identify this strategy and its goal, which will be available for others to be benefit.
Fantastic. This is a great news. So Oasis on the agenda for COP28. Congratulations, and this is great. Mohammed, the floor is yours. Yeah.
Well, I have to see a couple of things that there was like something sudden while we are seeing the global leaders setting to take the photo, and we can see a missing part of women and the representation of the leaders. So I believe that we need to have a diversity for the policymakers, because the diversity is making us feel that we need to specify the actual challenges and to make sure that we are represented and everyone is represented. And I can see also there is small representation for the young people and youth, but they are the victims of the climate change and they are the common generations. So we need to see more engagement for youth, for women, for the fact and science-based researchers that are saying that we need to integrate those actors inside the process of the negotiations and inside the process of the COP. So I would like to see next COP that we have a representation for young youth, for women. There is a diversity that enable all the communities to bring the voices together.
Thank you very much. And I'm sure that will happen, knowing the United Arab Emirates. That's a really great point. Thank you. Nada, over to you.
I think by COP28, what I would really wish to see is the inclusivity of the civil society, especially in the MENA region, the effects and the support, the governmental support to grow the grassroots innovations and the civil society. So that's what I'm really wishing for.
Thank you very much. Because they have an important role to play. What the government cannot do, the civil societies can do. And your wish between now and COP28, Dr.
My wish between now, as I said, we launched an initiative for sustainable oases that would solve the problem of all oases in the world. And we have started an alliance from 2016 to now, and I hope that in Emirates we will have a declaration of alliance and the fund to help execute this program of sustainable oases. I think all what was what our colleagues mentioned, it's very important from our experience. When we integrate youth and women, they really help to manage and they really help to go against climate change problems. They are a solution of the problem. and we should, I think, encourage this. Another problem is that, poor countries are very affected by climate changes, and even the funds that exist, they couldn't access to them. So we need more capacity building in preparing proposals for those funds like Green Fund, like Adaptation Fund. And so capacity building for those people are very important.
Thank you. Thank you. I think this is they're all very realistic action points between now and COP28. And I hope that the Oasis initiative will become reality throughout the whole MENA region. And also, you mentioned, what I think is important is the transboundary character of adaptation that we need to explore. Litsipria, not last but least, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Well, actually, as I've told you before, during this COP27, we want a concrete climate action plan. And in COP28 in Dubai, we want a concrete climate action progress summit by our leaders. We want real change now, and they must act now to save our planet and our future, because COP27 is our last hope to save our planet and our future. Otherwise, our planet would be dying soon. And I want our leaders to make a just, smooth transition away from coal, oil, and gas, and also use more renewable energies, like and also solar energies. And we want to see more bicycles on roads instead of more fossil fuel vehicles. We want to see more. I want all the coal power plants and thermal power plants replaced by clean, renewable, and solar energy. I want all the children living in this world have the clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, and clean planet to live. And also, asking clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, and clean planet to live is all our basic rights. Thank you.
Fantastic. Litsipria, thank you. And I mean, the UAE is a perfect place for the solar energy transition, so I'm sure we will see some exemplary case studies for the use of solar energy. And I'm sorry that we have to finish this session. It was truly fascinating listening to you all. Thank you to my panel. Thank you to the Khalifa International Award for Date Palm Cultivation. And I also wanted to thank the UAE Pavilion and the team behind the scenes who hosted us so beautifully. So this session is right now closed. Thank you.